What's up, everybody? So on today's video I just wanted to kind of go through some of the more uncommon consoles found, specifically the ones that I own. So these consoles are uncommon for whatever reason, whether or not they didn't sell well, whether or not they were just a special edition. It could be any number of reasons. So the first one I want to talk about is the Coleco Gemini. Coleco released the Gemini in 1982. Basically what had happened was, first they released a expansion module for their ColecoVision console that allowed the ColecoVision to play Atari 2600 cartridges. Now, obviously, Atari's not going to be too happy about that, so they ended up actually suing Coleco. Basically, they ended up settling with Coleco becoming a licensee of Atari patents. Hence the Coleco Gemini, a Atari 2600 clone console that released by Coleco in 1982. Fun fact, I paid $7.99 for that at a thrift store in town here. The other nice thing about the Gemini here is just how compact it is. It's nice and small. Now if you compare that to the Atari 2600, obviously a pretty substantial size difference there. So yeah, it was a nice compact version, good for saving space if you didn't want something maybe as big as the 2600 here. Now another console I want to talk about is something that a lot of people might haven't heard of, and I actually didn't know much about it until I ended up picking it up. It just looked interesting to me. It's actually the Action Max. Now the Action Max was created in 1987 by a company called Worlds of Wonder. The strange thing about this console is that it actually doesn't play anything on its own. What you actually need to use this console is you need a VCR, because it actually plays VHS tapes. I have 3 of them here, Hydro Sub 2021, 38 Ambush Alley, and The Rescue of Pop's Ghostly. Now these are more live action kind of games. All of them involving using a light gun, which is kind of interesting because the light gun for this one actually is similar to a real gun. The 3 games I have here is actually over half of the console's entire library. There's only 5 games released for this. So the next console I want to talk about is the JVC XI. So the JVC XI is actually a dual combo console. It plays Sega Genesis cartridges and also Sega CD games in there. I need to clean that out. This was originally called the Wonder Mega in Japan. It was a partnership between Sega and JVC. The reason that this didn't really catch on was the fact that it ended up costing $4.99 US at launch. There was already the Sega CDX coming out at that time, or just shortly after, and that was a lot cheaper. It was a lot more cost effective. So the JVC XI ended up not doing super well. I personally think it's an awesome looking console, and I was happy to also pay $7.99 for that at the thrift store here. This was a few years ago, and that would never happen now. And it also came with its own Genesis controllers that were branded JVC there, which is pretty cool. So it's a little variant on the Sega Genesis controller there. Now the 4th console I want to talk about is the Pikachu Edition Nintendo 64. Now this functions identical to a regular N64. Basically the only differences here are, so it says Pokemon on the front. Obviously you got the big Pikachu on the side here, and when you turn the power on, his cheeks actually light up, and his foot also acts as the reset button. So I'm assuming that this came out to promote the Pokemon N64 games that were coming out at the time. You had Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Stadium 2, and Pokemon Snap. Yeah, it's just a cool little variant of the N64 console. Now this one is becoming increasingly hard to find. It also came with its own Pokemon branded N64 controller there that's half blue, half yellow, kind of cool. The last console I want to talk about is actually, this I think is the weirdest one out of all the ones that I have here. It's actually the Sega Pico. I'm pretty sure I'm missing, this doesn't have everything in it, but basically what this is it was an educational tool released by Sega. You had the games which were called Storyware. Now I only have the Winnie the Pooh one here. The games are pretty strange themselves. They're kind of like little books, little activities on them, and they go right into there. And then this actually plugs into your TV, and you get little images on the TV, little games on the TV. Pico was released in 1994 in North America. It wasn't as successful in North America as it was in Japan. So Japan saw some successors to the Pico, while North America did not. Now the coolest thing I think about the Pico is the hardware inside is actually similar to the hardware inside a Sega Genesis. Just utilized it a little differently, and I always thought that was pretty interesting. So yeah, those are kind of the more obscure consoles that I own. There are others that are a little more obscure, but I just don't own them. These are the ones that I have there. So I just thought it'd be interesting to kind of take a look at some consoles that maybe a lot of people don't know too much about. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please feel free to like, comment, or even give me a sub. Follow me on Instagram, same as the channel name there. And I'll see you next time.